Hey everyone, this is Crystal, aka Sauce.
And this is Tanya, aka Season. Welcome to Sauce and Season, a podcast dedicated to real people to provide real talk and real healing on various topics. We are both wives, moms, entrepreneurs, and business professionals. Our hope is that through these topics and experiences we share, we can gain new insight for ourselves and provide new insights for others. We are excited that you decided to join us as we take this wild roller coaster ride that we call life together and hope that you stick around. Hello everyone, this is Tanya aka Season. Today's topic is what a woman needs versus what a man needs. Most people think that men require sex only and that women are hard to understand. Today we would like to tackle some of these ideas. Now remember, these are our perspectives and opinions, but believe it is important for couples to discuss their wants and needs openly with one another. So today we have invited our husbands to be a part of the podcast and share their insights as well.
So, hey everybody, this is Crystal, aka Sauce. So, like my mom said, we do have our husbands with us, Chad and Andrew. This topic is what a woman needs versus what a man needs, and we realized that with us being women, we did not really want to speak on the topic of man and what they may need because it would be strictly coming from our opinion from based on our husbands. And so we asked our husbands to actually join us so they can actually speak on the topic of what a man needs, which will be coming primarily from their own perspectives, but they are men, so they have more knowledge than we would have as women. So we wanted to talk about this topic because we're both married,
Right.
And me and my mom generally have conversations about, what we feel like we need in our relationships to continue to make them grow prosperly. And I've often talked to my mom about, for my husband, what is it that I could do better or differently, which is something I'm constantly trying to improve on, is to find ways to make sure that I am being healthy in our relationship for myself, one, but also for him, and making sure that I'm doing things to make sure I'm meeting his needs. And so this was just one of those topics that came up, like, what is it that a woman needs, but then what is it that a man needs? And I think for me, I'm more interested in hearing the man's side, and hopefully the men are more interested in hearing the woman's side, because then that just goes to show ways that we can both make improvements in our relationship.
Right. And I think for me, one of the things that I figure with this topic is I've been with your dad for a longer period of time. We've been married for 22 years, 4 kids. So we've been young, and now are in a more mature place. And so just understanding how things have changed, what's different now from when we started out, because you grow, you change, and you mature.
Correct.
And so we don't stay the same. And so what I wanted in the beginning may not be what I want now. So it'd be nice to hear his perspective to see if maybe he understands some of that.
Hello, people. I'm Andrew. I don't have those fancy names like my wife does. But in the beginning of a relationship, I'll be honest, I did not know what I want. But there was a quality that I see in my wife, and I think that opened my eyes up to say, that's somebody's wife. And I always tell her that I didn't think she was going to be my wife. I just say that was somebody's wife. So maybe the quality that I saw, what she displayed, maybe that's what the quality I was looking for. But I wasn't. I didn't know what I was looking for. But I see she treated me, on this occasion, and it has sparked that for me to say, God, this is somebody's wife. And I end up, like I said, we end up married each other a couple of years after that. But starting out, I did not know what I wanted from a woman. What I was looking into a woman, I did not know.
Do you think that back then when you thought about that, or now you have more perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because with growth, we have gone through some things, so those perspectives have changed. I'm curious, what was the quality that you saw that you were speaking to God about concerning me?
I wasn't, what the quality that I saw is somebody willing to tend to my needs,
Okay.
rather than want me to tend to their needs.
Okay. Somebody that thought about you, not just themselves.
Very selfless.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, when you're willing to give to me rather than you want me to take from me.
Right.
You know, and I've been in other relationship, and most of those relationships, the person always look for me to give.
Yeah.
You know, this was your mom. Your mom was the first one willing to reach out to try to give me. You know what I mean? And and that's a spark something in me, because that never happened before.
Yeah.
You know, so I just see her differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, go back again. I didn't say she was my wife.
Yeah, you just knew she had a wifely quality.
Yes, I didn't say she
of
was
a wife.
That makes sense. And so, Mom, I guess my question to you would be, what is it that you saw in Dad that let you realize that he was the person you wanted to marry? Since we're talking about qualities,
Okay.
I think that's a good direction. So what is it that you saw in him that let you know that, hey, yeah, this is somebody I'm going to actually say yes to when he proposes to me?
It's funny because originally when we met, we were friends. And I clowned him all the time. You know, I always joned on him. We were like, teenagers, 16. And he was driving. I just kept clowning him, you know, like, you think you could drive, so you're 16 with a car, you think you all that. And so originally, I just thought he was a nice person. And because our families were friends, his sisters were friends with my cousin. They all went to school together. So we were around each other, parties and different things like that. I think the biggest thing that I loved about your dad was he was honest. That was one thing. And just like he thought that I gave him, I felt like it was the same thing, because I was working from young. So I had a good job. And I know prior to him, I was dating someone who felt like because I had the better job, my money needed to do certain things. I wasn't giving gifts. It was more thought of that I had money, they didn't, you know, because we were young. And so I had a very good job. And so it was seen differently. Whereas your dad wasn't like that. It was, you know, we were mutual in that respect. And at the time, to be quite honest, I felt like I didn't want a man to give me anything. So I really was more willing to give than to just take, because that was just me. I had an independent spirit. But I do like the fact that he was also willing to give to me. And he spent time with me. That was another thing. That quality time is a big thing for me. I'm not a touch person or a feel person, but I am a quality time person to sit down and talk. And he went all the way to Jamaica. And when he came back, we had just really met each other. He came back from Jamaica. The first thing he did, and he was there for 3 weeks. We had met, I think we started talking 2 weeks, a week or two, and he went away. And then when he came back, the first thing he did was contact me. And that was like, wow, he didn't have to do that, because for 3 weeks he was gone. Yeah. So I didn't talk to him for 3 whole weeks. And one of the first things he did was come to look for me. He literally got somebody to drive him over to my house, and that. So I think it was the thoughtfulness. He was thoughtful. For a teenager, that was a big thing.
To be a male teenager.
Right. That was a big thing. So that was a quality I liked. Now, to say I was going to get married, I wasn't thinking that far ahead. No, ma'am. I was just thinking, hey, we talking to each other. That's what it is. And at the time, we weren't saved, so it wasn't even none of that. You know, it was just,
this is what it is.
This is what it is, you know. But I like that quality about him. He was very mature, too, because I thought your dad was the oldest kid in his family, and I found out he was the baby. I was like, whoa. Freeze, shawty.
Had a little rugged.
Right, like, wow, you're quite mature to be so young. All right, then. This might be a work.
So, Chad, let me ask you then, what was the quality that you saw in me that made you realize that maybe I was somebody that you want in your life?
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, when we first met, first of all, it was a setup.
I was told it wasn't a setup, people. I was told it wasn't, okay? But I knew it was. It had to be.
So, I first met you, and I met you at church, and then after church, you did this whole big kind of family gathering at your mom's house for dinner. And I saw everyone was there, and that kind of enticed me a little bit. Not you per se, but your family drew me in, first of all.
It was my food.
It don't matter.
Anyway.
It don't matter. It didn't matter what y'all did. Y'all all gathered as a family.
Oh.
And you got your food and you hit in the corner like a little rat eating on the side. Like, wow, okay. So,
Little
but
rat.
just the fact that, you kind of spent so much quality time with your family, that enticed me. Not to, say, oh, I'm going to marry you, but that
Sparked
made me,
interest.
yeah, spark interest to say, okay, maybe I like this little short person.
Definitely tall, but okay.
Is that because you're a family person?
I would say yes. Very much so. I still don't know all of my family. I've never met every single person in my family.
Okay.
Like, there's people I don't know. Like, even my grandma that passed away 4 years ago. My mom's real mom, I've met her probably twice.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't remember what she looked like.
Okay.
So, I love family.
And that's good. So that family feel was a desire.
Right.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And so the quality that I saw in Chad is basically, I like the fact that he was a family person too. So the first event that I went to with his family, I think it let me realize that he was not just a family person, but that he could be a great father. Because he was hanging around all the kids, and all the kids was literally flocking to him.
Did he say jerk?
I'm not listening. We're gonna keep rolling. All the kids was flocking to him and just wanting to be around him, and that was something that I thought was pretty cool, is how much of a family feel he also had, which was important to me, because I feel like if you don't have a good connection with your own family, how can I really trust that we're going to build a family and you're going to have a good connection with the family we build? Not necessarily have a good connection with my family, but when we build a family, are you going to still have a connection if you're not a family person?
Right.
But I think the quality that I saw that let me know that he was somebody I wanted to spend my life with, or really where he started drawing me in, is because there was a day where I was really having a complete bad day, and I'm not used to people sacrificing or acknowledging when I'm going through and trying to do something about it. I'm always the person who has to help other people. And so when I was having a bad day, I literally just called him on the phone and just was like, I'm just not having, or I think he called me and for something else, and we were talking, and I ended up just saying today wasn't a good day, and I just wasn't, I wasn't sure what was going on, but I wasn't excited about the day. And he called me probably 3-4 hours later in the afternoon, and I think I was sitting downstairs, and we was talking on the phone. He was like, "Where are you gonna eat?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Probably just make a bowl of cereal." I think that's what I said, and then I heard the doorbell. Went to the doorbell, and it was him, and he had I think Chick-fil-A. And that for me it was a big deal, which for other people it wouldn't have been, but for me it was a big deal because I'm not used to people sacrificing, and I had came out of a relationship where I felt like I was begging to have attention or begging for somebody to, share something or do something for me. And he did that completely on his own without asking. Coming from Covington and brought food to me all the way in Fairburn. And for me, that was a big deal. And I realized, you know what, that was a sacrifice because you acknowledge somebody other than yourself, and you say, you know what, let me do something to make her day happier, which means that he wasn't going to get home till late. So I was just like, wow, I thought that was just a big thing for me that made me realize, hey, this is somebody that I know is somebody who I really like in my life. So.
It seemed like you got the same thing that triggered my feeling towards your mom.
Mm-hmm. Selflessness.
That's what draw you to him, and that's what draw me to your mom. That selflessness, somebody thinking more about me than themselves.
Correct. I think too, Chad said something that was interesting because I actually loved your dad's family feel because being around them, they were always together or laughing, and then he had his mom and his dad in the same house, and it was just, they invited me to be a part of that, What's funny is originally your grandmother thought I was 11 because I was so little. So she actually warned him.
98 pounds.
I was only 98 pounds, so she warned him, in this country, you could go to jail for messing with young girls, so you might want to check it out. And he was like, no, she's 16, just like me. But she thought I was 11 years old.
Wow.
So that was funny. I think that when it comes to needs, one of the things that I'm hearing for myself say is that my emotional needs were important. I know then and even now, back then, right when we started dating, my mother died. We had been dating in September. October 8th was my birthday, and 20 days following, my mom died. And he was supposed to meet her in between.
Yeah, I never get to meet her mom
Right.
because she died in the following week that we were supposed to meet.
Wow.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and what was good for me is, you know how you said Chad drove for an hour. Your dad was still on curfew at home. He literally left his house, and you know your grandma, she don't play.
You sure do know her.
So
everybody in the podcast probably knows it.
he left the house. I was crying, and he called me, and I told him what happened, and he came over, and he didn't talk. He didn't say anything. He wasn't even supposed to be in my bedroom, but he came straight to my room. Boy, he took a lot of risks that day. He ignored what his mom said, left the house. He came, and he had to take, I don't even think you had your car at the time. I think you had to take the bus or something like that. He took the bus, and you know how buses in Brooklyn are. So he had to wait, get on the bus. He was taking bad risks, okay? He got to my house, and he just sat there. He let me cry the whole time. So for close to 3 hours, I was just crying. For close to 3 hours, I was crying. And he didn't say anything. He didn't ask me if I was okay. He just sat there. He rubbed my head, let me lay on his shoulder, and just let me cry. And I thought that was very important in my life at that time because, like I said, prior relationships, it wasn't like that. Like you said, I wasn't important. Mm-hmm. I wasn't the major factor. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. There were other factors involved. And for me, that just showed me that somebody cared. Because he risked, literally, I would say he risked his life. Because knowing my mother-in-law, he risked his whole life. But he did that for me. And he stayed clear into almost early morning. Just let me cry. He didn't ask any questions. He didn't have any answers. He just sat there. And that was needed at that time.
So that's what your needs was at the moment, which I think kind of aligns to mine. But what is your needs, or what would you say are your needs now?
Okay, I'm still a very emotional person. Even now, you see him nodding his head. Even now, I didn't have a lot of people to talk to. Like you, I was always a strong one. But now it's not just an emotional situation, but my needs have switched to the place where now I do seek his counsel. That makes sense. There are times where I'll say to him, I'm just saying it to you because I want to hear what you have to say. But then he's also done something for me. Because we don't want to create, or he doesn't want to create arguments with me, because sometimes his counsel might do that. What he does say to me is, when you're talking to me, do you want me to talk? Or do you want me to listen? And that has been a blessing because I'll tell him right off, I really don't want you to give me an answer. All I really need you to do right now is just listen to me. Let me vent, right? Because I don't have too many places to vent to. I can't talk to you about your dad because that's your dad. I can't talk to his sister who's my best friend about him because that's her brother. Yeah. So I have to kind of say, okay, who do I talk to? I don't necessarily have my mom to talk to. So a lot of times I'm spending time with God. So there are things that I say to him and I say, just listen. But then there's times I say, I need you to help me out with this. So my biggest issue is helping me with picking food. And he never does. It's always, whatever you say, babe. And it's like, there is no help in that. You know? But yeah, my needs now have changed. They're still emotional. But now I know how to balance and ask for what I want. And I think sometimes that's where women have a problem. They think men are supposed to just know. He's not a mind reader, so he doesn't just know.
Well, your mom said something. One thing I do know about your mom, she wants me around her.
Quality time, yeah.
Yeah, she wants me around her. And, when we get in a little selfish mode, one of the things that I used to use to spite her is to hold back my affection.
Yeah.
Because I know she craved that affection from me.
And that was prior.
Yeah. I realized I was wrong then, and I'll make changes in my life to not to do that no more. But as we get mature, you start seeing some stuff you do when you're younger, when you just get married, and when you get upset with each other, we tend to try to hurt each other where we know you hit at home. And that was one. So your mom always want my a shoulder to lean on. So I always try to be that shoulder for her to lean on, and and it's been a blessing. And for me, what I want most of all is just respect.
That's good.
I needed that respect. Listen, although I know I'm the man, you the saying is you're the man of your own house. Common sense doesn't mean that I don't run the house. The wife does run the house. You know what I mean? But she just need that just to let me be that man. She come and before she make any serious decision, I tell her go ahead and make decision. But if it's real serious, let me be a part of it. She come and say this is what we planning to do. What you think about this? And we stop and discuss it. But the respect is very important for me. And and one of the things is I know from when we was younger, some of the stuff that I used to do, and one of the big thing that I always work on and let you see that is trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I know when we was younger, in some way I destroyed that trust. And it to have her think that she can't trust me, that was one of the things that I know that over years it's much better now. But early on that was a struggle because maybe in our family the trust situation wasn't strong, and then here come I, come and wreck that trust. So over as the relation keep progressing, that's one of the biggest thing I work on, to let her know she could always trust me, that that I'm going to be faithful, and and be true for her.
That's good. I think y'all made a lot of great points that I think I was going to kind of say what I need. Y'all both kind of tag teamed it. I like the way y'all did that. Good teamwork. Yep. Me and Chatty actually did a love languages quiz for couples, and I would recommend that for anybody because I think it's kind of hard to, understand what you need if you don't first understand what you need as a person, like completely. Like, what is it that you desire? And so doing that love languages quiz, it allowed us to kind of see from the top what we really value the most. And I was actually surprised with Chad's results. I already knew what mine was because I'm a therapist, so I know how I am. Oh, Lord. But I was surprised with Chad's results because I actually thought that his number one would have been physical touch, because Chad is a touchy person. If anybody knows him, he's always touching something. He's in this room now, y'all, just touching. So, I thought his was actually going to be physical touch first. But I was surprised because we actually share the same first love language. And that's words of affirmation.
Yes,
Meaning we both.
I appreciate encouragement.
Yeah.
Like, I like someone to push me. So the reason I did choose to marry you was it ended up being you encouraging me and talking about our future, like what we can do. Mm-hmm. I like, what sneakers we gonna buy next week. I don't care about that. Yeah. I stopped buying sneakers. I need to know what your plan is for our future.
That's good.
And it's funny because I think gifts was like the last on our list. So
don't get me wrong. I appreciate gifts.
Correct. But the in between was like mixed up. Like I think his was next one was physical touch or something of that nature. But our top one was words of affirmation, which is interesting. But for me, that's something I need. I always need like encouraging words. It doesn't necessarily have to be you telling me certain things that's over the top, but to just let me know that that you acknowledge that I'm doing something right, or that you see me trying, even if I'm not doing the best. Like that's important to me. Like if you're always putting me down or you're saying negative things, that hurts me. So for me, words of affirmation is important. And then I think Daddy said something which was trust. Mm-hmm. And that's like my number one. So I was just straight up truthful to Chad when we first got together. Like, you put your hands on me, it's over. You cheat on me, it's over. Like, I had to be honest. Like, I have to know what my weaknesses are and say, these are like my cutoffs. Like, I can handle a lot. I could handle, you probably poor with money. We can figure that out. You don't make the best decisions on certain things. We can figure that out. But there was those two things for me. It's like, no, because once you do that, you're crossing a boundary that I don't feel like it's easy to come back from. And I don't think we will be able to make it back from, because we may move past it, but I have to know how I am and know that God's still working on me. And so I don't forget certain things. And for me, I know that's something that I felt like we wouldn't be able to make it back. So I had to be honest and say from the beginning, these are my no's. Like I can't deal with that, but I can deal with a lot of other things. And so trust is always important. And I think Chad showed me very on that I could trust him. Like he gave me the password to his phone. Like he let me check his iPad. Not that I wanted to, but like he was just very carefree. Like he left his stuff around. Anyway, he just left stuff around. He would allow me to see things, and like he would actually, I think he was the first person who would ever tell me where he was going before I asked. Like, I'm going to Lithonia to do this, or I'm going here. And I was like, wow, okay. Like that was big to me, because I'm not asking you.
Right.
So the fact that you're telling me where you're going very forthcomingly, like,
so you don't call me and be like, babe, where are you? I told you I'm going to Lithonia. Come. Next time I'm just coming.
That's funny, because a lot of times she'll call and be like, I'm going with Chad to the truck yard. He must have told you to come on the ride. Because usually I don't ask. I think that what you're saying is important. I think a lot of couples don't understand that sometimes they generally do have some of the same desires, needs, and wants. I know what is important in my eyes. Remember, these are our perspectives, but open communication and honesty are always important.
Oh, definitely. I think those are number one.
Those are number one. I think we learned that as we started growing even more so, because we didn't always have the best guidance or understanding of that. I think we shared this yesterday with some people at our event at church, that when we would get very angry with each other, and because we didn't want to take it to the level where we were arguing and yelling in front of y'all, we would have what you call dollar dates. And so we would go to McDonald's, and at the time we were still raising the four of you, so money was tight, and I was a stay-at-home mom. We would go to McDonald's and buy maybe one burger for him, a burger for me, and one large fry. We had to share it. So if I'm mad with you, we gotta talk, because I gotta have my fries, right? And then we buy one large drink. And so if I drank it all, I had to say to him, I need you to refill it. So we had to talk. We forced ourselves. And the funny thing is, nobody taught us that. Mm. That was just something, and through prayer, I wouldn't say nobody. I would say God and the Holy Spirit, they taught us that. Mm-hmm. Because we didn't know how to do it. We were young. You know what I'm saying? We have 4 kids. I think we had Keyshawn, by the time we had Keyshawn, we were 23. So 23, 24. So 20, we had a baby at 20, and then we had Keyshawn, and then we had the last 2 babies. So we had to learn. We had to learn how to communicate. So open communication. And I think a lot of times couples don't do that. Mm-hmm. They're not honest. There are women who would say to me, I'm just not going to say how I feel. That's how he's supposed to know.
And how is it going to last?
Because how's it going to last?
You're going to end up building things up.
And that's the thing. Once you hold stuff in, eventually it's going to boil over, and it boils over in our action, or we treat each other. We might don't think it's boiling over,
but it is.
But it is, because based on our action with each other, and you know what I mean. And the person questions, say, why you treating me that way? They don't know that there's something that has been done.
Some type of resentment.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm fully believe time heals wound, and sometimes it's not the right time to address something right there if it's very important. I think that time is when you take that time that you have and spend it with God, because this is what I learned, is that the person like my wife, she's the one that I have a problem with. I have to realize that the problem is not her. It's I am receiving it.
Yeah, it's your perspective.
Yeah, I'm receiving it. But if I talk right now, all I see is you are the problem.
Yeah, because you're in that.
She are the problem. So I learned to take time and let God deal with it. And I asked God, when there's opportunity, I could share how I feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I do share, one of the first time when I did open up to her, I tell her, this is my heart. You know what I mean? What I'm sharing with you is very important, dear to my heart. You watch what you do, or you treat. You know, I don't want, if I share with you, you're going to come back and hit me in my face with what I share with you.
Right.
Then I won't share with you no more.
Right.
You know, and that's a big, for a man, that's a big thing to be vulnerable in front of the woman, their wife.
That's a good point. And I agree. I think communication is like the number one thing in any relationship, because y'all are with each other so much that you have no choice but to talk. So if you're going around and you're not talking to each other, that's very toxic. And eventually it gets old because somebody's not going to be getting what they need, whether it's because they're not able to release it and share with you, or because they feel like they have to hold everything in and they just got to walk on, eggshells. And I don't think that's healthy. So for me, communication is like very important. I think me and Chad, I can say at the very beginning of our relationship, we had to learn how to communicate with each other because we have different communication styles. I think anybody has different communication styles. And so we had to learn how to communicate with each other, meaning like this is how he communicates and this is how And I think Chad realized that, for me, I communicate like when I'm calm. And that's because I've learned that I can get very angry when I talk. And I realized even with my mom, because I always tell my husband and my mom that they act alike. They're twinsies. Like they have a lot of whatever. They have a lot of similarities in their personality. And so when I would share things with my mom, she would always get offended. And I had to say, you know what? I realize it's because I'm talking out my anger. And even though I don't mean for you to receive it that way, maybe my delivery is coming off that way because when I am passionate about something, I talk heavily. Mm-hmm. Meaning I talk passionately. And I'm not yelling like they think of it as yelling, but for me, I'm just passionate. I'm getting excited, I'm getting hyped. Yeah. I start talking with my hands because I start feeling it.
Right now.
I start feeling it. And so I had to realize early on that, I can't talk when I'm passionate. Not even angry, when I'm passionate. I instead have to talk when I'm calm, so that way he receives it in a healthier way and it's not coming off as a threatening type of thing. Like I had to realize that at the very beginning.
I think for me, I realized that your dad doesn't like nagging. Like he can, if I nag him, he's just not gonna do. Like I'm gonna be waiting forever. Like I might say early on in the relationship, I would say, Andrew, the door handle on the door needs to be fixed. I got it, honey. Now, of course, he didn't have it right away in my time. But he had it, right? And I would come back. It got done, but just not in my timing. But I had to learn how to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to stop nagging because I realized that didn't make him go any faster. Yeah. It just made him slow down even more. And he'd just be sitting there looking at me like, I said I had it. Let me have it. I think that was an area, that was a hard one for me because I didn't just let anyone do for me. Mm-hmm. I remember when we first got married, we didn't have combined bank accounts. They were separate. I didn't want his money in my account, and he didn't want me to have his money in my account. No, I was cool with that because I had my own income. But when he first allowed me to do anything in a bank account, it was amazing to me, right? But I stopped fighting it. He allowed me to say, okay, honey, we're going to combine it. This is what we're going to do. But I remember a couple of times I had to work on that because I got angry. Because I used to say to him, don't watch how I do the money. And no. And I realized it caused arguments. And it wasn't that he was trying to tell me how to do the money. He felt we needed to communicate about, like he said earlier, those big things. Right? And I was like, well, you told me what to do, so I'm just going to do it. There was a time that I remember he said he was thinking about getting a new phone. He was at work. And I checked out all the phone companies. And before he got off work, he had a whole new phone account and everything. He was coming home. And when he got to the house, he was like, honey, so my phone wasn't working. What's wrong? I was like, I just switched you to this. So I had to learn how to talk with him about those things rather than just jumping the gun. Yes, he did say he was interested, but he didn't say do it. Yeah. And I was just like, let's do it because I was used to making my own decisions by myself. So I still had a single mindset instead of a married mindset.
Well, that's it. When in the beginning of the marriage, you're still gonna have your own mindset. And remember, it's two people trying to become one.
Right.
We brought up differently.
Right.
So there's some clash gonna take place. There's some misunderstanding gonna take place.
Right.
But the beauty of it is you start getting to know the person that you're with. Mm-hmm. I think I think one of our pastors say you study the person that you're with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I started studying your mom, and there's certain things that I'll see her do. One of the big things right now, as we at this stage in our marriage, is your mom tell me piece of the story. So because she tell me piece of the story, I'm holding on to what she tells me.
Mm-hmm.
Then when the whole story does come out, I'm like, hold up.
Where did that piece come
from? Where did that come from? I'm blindsided, And I told her, you just like a older son. You give me a piece of the story, and there's a big part of the story you left off, And so that become a problem till I voice it to her,
right?
Because it was right in me. Because when it come up, and it's only be revealed when it's something desperate.
But I think that's because, like you said, we have different styles. For you like details.
Yes.
I don't have to have details. It's kind of like
going to go off of what you hear.
Yes. It's kind of like what Pastor was teaching when we were at the event, right? And he was talking about, I don't know, I think it was his wife. And one of the things that she was talking about is the fact that, some conversations with your spouse, they say, number 1A, 2A. 3A. That's your daddy. And I just go from 1 to 3.
Cliff Note version.
Right. I give you Cliff Note versions. Right. And so I realized that style of sharing wasn't working for him because in my mind, I'm thinking I told you everything. And in his mind, you only gave me part of it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so it's like, oh, you want full details. So I got to write 1A, 1B, 1C, then we get to 2. Then a 2A, 2B, to C. Whereas to me, when he's telling me stuff, I'm like, okay, all right. Or like he'll say to me, honey, did you talk to so-and-so? And I'll say, yeah, I said that. I did talk to them. And he'll say, so what did they say about? And I'm like, I didn't ask that question. I asked one simple question. Are you coming here today? Well, he want to know, are they coming on I-285? Are they going to take what time they coming?
What kind of car they driving?
What kind of car they driving? Sir, I did not.
How many people coming?
How many people coming? I ain't asked that question. I just know they coming.
Yeah.
So I think speaking to one another about it, like he said, I've learned now that, you don't want cliff notes. You want the whole detail. So I have to start giving details. So that's the sacrifice. But for our marriage, your dad always says one thing. There are no winners. No winner for him, no winner for me in this marriage. The winner is the marriage.
Correct. It can't be a winner because then you're you're going to put that over everything else trying to win instead of trying to come to a mutual understanding. And I think y'all led to our next part, which is basically from y'all's perspectives, Chad and Dad, what is it that you realize me and Mommy needs? And Chad, I'll start with you. What is it that you realize your spouse needs in the relationship from your perspective?
From my perspective, you need it.
Okay, what does that mean?
So you need quality
we should have
time.
practiced this time.
You need positive reassurance. You need touch. You need my presence because realistically, if there's a day you're not home, you want to be cuddled up with me, and I'm like, I gotta go. I got stuff to do. I can't be here the whole day with you and just watch movies and eat popcorn. That's all right.
So obviously you like to cuddle and eat popcorn, watch movies.
Or Pop-Tarts. Too.
Oh, Pop-Tarts?
Sometimes there's a combination of both. Yeah.
Oh, I should have vetted his
He's being himself. Oh, that's funny.
Way, since being married, I realized that I can't, put myself first. Like, I gotta let you win and take the loss. Because it's okay.
He missed the whole segment about no winning.
That's okay. What he just said is he was selfless. I heard what he said. Well, of course you did. Of course he said I'm selfless.
The way I said it's gonna come off.
Right. He said he's selfless. He had to learn not to be selfish and now selfless.
Right.
So you gotta cliff notes. But you're like your daddy. You're like your daddy. You need 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D.
You should have vetted the
2A, 2B, 2C. deep.
I can't give you like that. I'm telling you how I get it. Right.
See?
Real quick. And we done.
Right.
On to the next one.
So, Dad, what is it that you realize mommy needed in the relationship?
Now?
Currently. What do you realize
now,
she needs now?
Right now, I think mostly it's encouragement. Tell her that she got it. It's okay. You know what I mean? If she make a mistake, okay, it's okay. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? And I think she needs to understand that, especially I'm not here to hurt you. Even if you make a mistake and it affect the family, you know.
Safety.
So I have to encourage her, because rather than have her beat up on herself, you know what I mean, to say to let it go. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, you know. So that's one of the things that I think at this stage in her marriage, for her, I think she needs to hear me say it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay. No matter what the problem is, no matter, you know, if we have a situation doesn't even come up. And she come this weekend and she said, I don't want to do this thing. I said, well, you've been putting off long enough. You know, just go in and take care of it now. You know, and she, even though I don't know if she take care of it because it's still, but I said, let's take care of it and we deal with it afterwards. So she just need that word of encouragement that no matter what, I support her.
That's good. So, Mom, what is it that you realize Daddy currently needs in a relationship?
Daddy's shifted. I
think we all shift, don't? Because we change,
change
ever so often.
But at this stage in the game, he needs my attention. He needs the quality time. That makes sense? He wants me to spend time with him. Because I think he felt left out for years prior because I was raising the kids. We were raising them together, of course. But, you know, for a while I was a stay-at-home mom. The kids required me a little bit more. So I was paying more attention to you guys. Now he needs to know that he is important. That if he mentions he wants to go on vacation, that I'm willing to go. That if he says he wants to fly to Thailand and you know your dad is adventurous and I don't really like to go that far, that now I will say I'll go to Thailand with you. I've been, but he wants to do those. He wants me to be spontaneous. Your dad is real spontaneous. And now it comes out even more. So he needs me to encourage his spontaneity. Like when we went away to Dominican Republic, he was like, oh, let's just go ride on these motorcycles. And I don't know these people outside this resort. I want to stay in here with the safe people.
But security.
Right, security. And he wants me to encourage those, you know, spontaneous events and be there for him. And more than so, listen. Listen and show that I am taking it to heart and trying to make a change with it. I think that's what I believe his needs are right now.
Okay. I would say for Chad, I realize even more so that he needs time to himself. So as much as he says that I'm needy, I do try to give him his space. 9 times out of 10, he has his space. And so I realize that he needs time to himself and also like
That's
words
important.
of encouragement, you know, having that moment where I do encourage him or process with him something he wants to do and letting him know that he can still do it. And I think trust is a big thing for Chad overall, that I just like trust him in general. I think is something he doesn't say, but I can tell he wants and needs. But I think ultimately we can talk about what we think the other spouse needs, but it comes down to that spouse actually opening their mouth and telling you.
That's important.
So we're talking about what we think our spouse needs because we've been with them and we kind of have the understanding. But ultimately, I think it's important for spouses to have conversations because the same way women, and I do agree, women mind read a little bit more. Men mind read too. They are, you know, they try to think they know something, but they don't. Vice versa. And so I think the best way to really know what the other person wants and needs is to share it with them.
Yeah.
And so like I've learned to open my mouth and tell Chad when I need something or to tell him when something is not working in my eyes because I feel like it's not going to be healthy if I expect him to do something that I'm not telling him I'm expecting him to do. So how can I want him to have personal time with me if I'm not telling him that that's important to me is that we have personal time. And so I think it all comes down to spouses being honest and opening their mouth and saying what they need from the other person because that other person doesn't know. And so you expect it but you can't expect something you're not telling them you really want them to give to you. And so ultimately, I think it comes down to just having that conversation and saying, what is it that you need from your spouse? What is it that you really want from your spouse? And then having that conversation with them so that way they can also tell you what it is that you need. Because if you're not getting your needs met, probably they're not getting their needs met either. Because if I've realized when you don't meet, when your needs are not being met, you will inadvertently do things to the other person because you're not getting something you want. And so that means that their needs are not going to be met too.
So you have to talk about it. So ultimately, what we've discussed today and what I hear being said is we need to have mutual respect. We need to share kindness, patience, and understanding with one another. Be supportive, be sensitive, be honest, and open communication. So those are some areas for couples to work on because, like I said at the beginning, people think it's just men want sex and women can't be understood. And I think I heard a wise person or two wise people in an event we went to recently said, if we follow and work with one another and do the things that we need mutually, we don't have to worry about our sex life in the bedroom because those areas will be steamy enough.
And I think it comes down to friendship.
Yes.
So that was the big thing too. I think ultimately all of us kind of touched on in our own little way that we have our own little friendship. And so, ultimately I think what a man needs and what a woman needs is equal. We just need friendships. And with a strong and good friendship,
and your
goal is to meet that other person's needs. And if you have the foundation of a friendship first, I believe that all the other needs are going to get met too.
That's it.
So we both want to thank you for listening today and want to encourage you to go and like our Facebook page and Instagram page, Sauce and Season, if you haven't already. On both platforms, you will find a post titled Today's Podcast, and we would love for you to go under there and post your thoughts and feelings regarding this week's podcast and also encourage others to listen in. We hope that you were blessed in some way with today's podcast and hope that you join us again for next week's podcast titled The Man in the Mirror, Self-Image, Loving the Skin You're In, which will be released on Tuesday. Thank you and have a blessed day.